Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 3, where we attempt to build a product business in 30 days. And today we are going to be building our marketing landing site. So let's jump right into the details today. All right, we're going to be building our marketing site. So, what we're going to go through today is what is the marketing site. We're just going to do a little quick explanation on what that is. We're going to talk about templates versus prompting to actually build out our site. I am going to build the markdown file with ChatGPT in order to build our site actually with Bolt. So, we are going to be using Bolt today to build our site. We're going to talk a little bit about GitHub because we will be checking our code into GitHub. We will be using that as a repository. We will be deploying our marketing site to Netlify, which is in partnership with Bolt. And this is actually the first time I've used Netlify, so we're going to give it a shot. And then we'll talk a little bit about GoDaddy. I actually already have the domain secured and I've used GoDaddy for years. So we will just make sure that all of our deployed marketing site syncs up appropriately. The time to complete this is probably 2 to 4 hours, depending on how much context you've had before. If you have not built your branding artifacts, you are going to need your branding artifacts for this exercise. So I recommend that you go back and that you have your branding guidelines, your logos, your fonts, your colors, all of that predefined. That will really help to bring your brand into this site. So what is a marketing site? I have an example I screenshotted from Webflow. A marketing site is what we used to formerly call a landing page. And a marketing site is a little bit more than a landing page, but you get the idea. Essentially, it's not necessarily a single page application anymore, but it's definitely a site that is lightweight and that can explain to your customers or anyone else who's interested in your product what exactly you're doing and how they can get more information or get to your products. So this marketing site is not actually our application that we are going to be developing for this business. This actually will be the shell that will eventually display getting to the application, but the marketing site is essentially just a landing page. I already indicated that we're going to be writing a prompt to write our marketing site versus using a template. So you saw a template on the last page, and there are lots of template options out there. Some of them are free. And there are some advantages and disadvantages between using a template and using a prompted site, which we are going to do today. So let me just show you a little overview of Webflow here before we get into the pros and cons. And you can see if you see one that seems really relevant to your business case, feel free to grab something externally and start there if you want to actually use a predefined template. The problem with templates, in my professional opinion, is that they are not scalable and that you have low control over potentially what they display. Now, of course, that is not true if you are a software engineer and you know what to do, but it's sometimes a little bit fuzzy. So changing something in one place may not change all of your colors and fonts everywhere else. So for the purposes of today, we are going to start from scratch and use an AI prompted site. So as you can see on the left here, if we use Webflow or some other tool to template, that's great. It's very fast to launch, very easy drag and drop. An AI prompted site actually has more flexibility. It is more unique. It does take a moderate amount of technical skill, but it is more editable and there's more control. So that is why we are going to go this direction, at least as the first pass. And of course, with everything, we reserve the right to change our minds and go back later. So how did I do this? Okay, I started with a ChatGPT prompt to actually develop the markdown that I'm going to copy and paste over into Bolt. Now, why did I use ChatGPT instead of just using Bolt. So Bolt actually will take in the information that I want to build out, and it will start to build it. But it is limited, and I am actually on the Pro plan. You can get the Pro plan for free or cheap. There are lots of ways. Right now, Bolt is doing a hackathon where you can get the Pro plan for free. There's also very inexpensive, or a lot of places that'll partner with Bolt that'll give it to you for free. But they are limited on the number of files you can upload, and they are just generally, I feel like their interface is geared towards software engineers and not as much towards the dialogue. So I still prefer to use ChatGPT, and anyone can correct me if they can find a better way to have more of a dialogue within Bolt. So how I did this was I went to ChatGPT and I put in a prompt that says, I'm building the markdown file, which the markdown file is going to loosely define your HTML for your marketing site. I want to build that markdown file. I want to build this for my consulting business. And I gave it the context, remember, of my branding guidelines. Do you remember we did that in the last video? So that's your colors, your typography, your usage, your tone, your strategy. And some of my logos I went ahead and put into this project just so we could see that they were right here. So what happened was then ChatGPT then went on to ask me questions about what I want to see in the MD prompt. Do I need a call to action? What do my navigation links want to look like? Because I didn't give it a ton of information. So it's really thinking about this. It knows what a marketing site is. It knows what to ask. And it's asking me questions. So I am answering the questions, and I'm also telling it, there's some things that are in the branding guideline that you didn't see. So please take a look again and locate those. Now, one thing it asked me was for a background image. I do not have one, so I asked it to create me one. We're going to see how this turns out. I didn't love this one, so I asked me to create another one. We're going to make a long story short, and what we're going to do is we are going to come down here to the markdown file. So the markdown file is telling Bolt what to do. Create a modern professional marketing website using the provided logos, the navigation, the hero section, the feature section, the applications. Okay, so this is the one notable piece that we are going to be expanding on in the future is our yield cover application. We haven't developed that yet. So this is just a landing page that will at some point hold links to the yield cover. So essentially we have all of our markdown here, and I am not going to go into any great deal. I'm really just going to copy this markdown and hope that it's close to what we want to see. And we're going to head straight over to Bolt, and we are going to develop our application. Let's go ahead and we're going to paste this right in here. And I am going to go ahead and upload a couple of a couple of images. So I'm going to just pull in some of my icons, and you would have all of these icons defined from your branding guide as well. So you should not have any problem finding those. I'm actually going to upload my branding guide into here just so it has as much context as possible. Now, Bolt does limit you to 5 items, so that's why I'm trying to be concise and keep it to 5. We'll add more in if we need more in the future. We can use the AI to help us to determine what we need going forward. So we got the branding guide, we got a few logos here, and I did have that landing page image that it developed for me in ChatGPT, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter. Okay, so now it is going to start developing this application for us, and this could take a couple minutes. I'll just kind of chat as we watch this work. So you'll see that it does have my color palette in here. So we're hoping that the site will have my color palette. We're hoping that it looks professional and that it has our icons used in there. It has our correct typography. And we will give it a few minutes to wait and see what it comes up with. Now, what it's going to tell us, of course, down at the bottom here is it's going to automatically deploy to Netlify. which is true. Bolt has a partnership with Netlify. So if you have not yet created an account with either GitHub or Netlify, we're in the Bolt demo right now. I would recommend you go ahead and you go out and you create a GitHub account and a Netlify. Is it Netlify or Netlify? That's Netlify. I apologize. I think I was saying it wrong. Netlify account and sync those up with Bolt. And those are actually going to come up and they will be linked in the integrations. So you see, let's actually turn on that right here in the upper right-hand corner. There's an integrations button, and that's going to tell you right there where you can integrate with both GitHub and Netlify. So GitHub's going to keep your code, and then Netlify is going to be the deployed version of your code. It never did come back with my preview. So let's see what's going on here. All right. It looks like it did create all of my code for me, but it never actually previewed it in the Bolt kind of in-browser. I'd call this like an in-browser, I don't know if you call it IDE or what you call it here, but let's see what we can get here. Let's hope that it will start this up here for us. It says that there's a problem. Okay. It will not run my dev server. All right. Well, let's fix that. I don't know why. Seems like a Bolt problem, not a Mara problem. We received an error earlier, and I believe it was because Bolt was trying to install the Astro framework, and it was never finishing its installation. So what we are going to do is we went back to the drawing board. I copied and pasted the same markdown that we looked at before, all of our images, and I instructed Bolt to not use the Astro framework. And we are going to attempt again to generate our marketing page. Let's see what happens. Just to give you a little context about a few of the things I tried reinstalling the dependencies and waiting. I tried also to tell Bolt in the previous project to delete all the code and start over and reissued it the markdown. And it still seemed to get stuck when it was installing the Astro framework. So right here, where it's installing the dependencies, is where it seemed to, for lack of a better word, crap out. So let's see if we do any better as we're not installing that Astro framework. I don't have any requirements to use it, so we'll see what happens. It is instructing me that it has finished the code, but there is no preview, and it does not look like it has ever reached the point of starting the application here. Oh, there we go. Hopefully, right? So now it hopefully has run, it has started our dev server. So let's see now if we get a preview. Sheesh, 280 packages. So that's something. Let's just ask Bolt. I'm still unable to see the preview. We'll see what it says. Oh boy, here it comes. It took a few minutes, didn't it? Well, when we encounter things like this, we do have to think that 20 years ago, it would have taken hiring a web developer and probably paying them thousands of dollars to develop this, or potentially even more, to get this right. Whereas we spent just a few hours on our branding, and now we've spent maybe just a couple more hours to have AI generate this marketing site for us. If it renders. My application is blank. And let's see if we can get a better preview here. So it looks like the code is available. It's just not rendering. Oh my, what do we got going on? What was that? Well, my pointer is obviously lost its mind as well. All right, so let's do this. I'm actually going to remove this background image because this is way too, well, actually, let's do this. Let's ask it if it will set the opacity of the background image to 50% and re-render. I'm also going to have it remove this logo. Oof, let's see what I do here. Well, I'm not loving the results here, but that's cleanup for later. So let's do this. I want to remove this logo from here and put this up in the upper left-hand corner. And then the hero should come up the page a little bit so that the R applications is visible on load. So that's what I'm going to type to Bolt right now. From the hero, remove the logo with company name. Move the logo with company name up to the upper left corner. I would like to see our applications visible on load. So move that out of the screen. I don't know how to word this while I'm recording. While it's doing that, let's go to the about, okay, services, okay, apps. That's interesting. Why the nav items are not in the same order as they are on the page. Okay, great. All right. So rearrange the navigation so that they are in the same order as they are on the page. Okay, and now I have and I'm also going to say, so now I have like the company logo with the icon. I'm just going to say remove the icon from the nav bar because it is redundant. So let's get this to a place where it looks decent, and then we're going to simply deploy it. So let me talk this out. There's a few things I don't like about this so far. Obviously, this looks quite bland, and it's nothing really pops out to me to being spectacular here. But that's okay because this is just an example, and we do have a working site. We don't know if the Get in Touch works yet, but that's okay. It's actually done a really good job for the little amount of time that we spent on it. So there are some things I want to change and clean up, but let's do this. Instead of doing that, let's actually see if we can get this out to a live environment. So there are a few things going on here. So we can integrate with GitHub, which I would prefer to do so that we always have our code somewhere that belongs to us. And this is another advantage of doing this manually versus using a template. So I'm going to go ahead and hit GitHub right now. If you have not connected your GitHub account to this, you can do this right from here. It will ask you to connect your GitHub to Bolt, and it's super easy. So let's just call it strategic site. And we're going to hit create repository. Okay, perfect. I don't really know why. I guess the start building just takes you back to Bolt, so that doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay, the button's a little goofy. And then what we're going to do is we are actually going, I was thinking it was under the integrations, but it's not. We're going to hit that deploy. So what deploy is going to do now is it is going to deploy the site to Netlify. I apologize, don't know the name of the organization, but they are in a partnership with Bolt. They will give you a free account, very similar to Vercel. The first time you will have to set it up. I set it up earlier today, so it should just allow me to deploy this, and then it's going to give me a custom name for my site, very similar to Vercel that looks like a GUID or some other combination of characters. So while it does that, let's take a look at what I previously had. So I told you at the beginning of this tutorial on day one that I didn't have anything. Well, that is not exactly true. I do have a website that I already own, and it was from GoDaddy's. There was a template that it allowed me to use when I set up my site, and I just chose a template. It's powered by GoDaddy Arrow, and I chose one, and it's out there. I have no connection to this code. I don't care anything about this particular landing page. So we are going to get this completely cleaned up now, and we're going to deploy exactly what you just saw out to my strategiccorp.com domain. This might take a minute, so let's come back when it finishes. We are back and Netlify has finished deploying. If we move over to the Bolt chat here, you can see it's going to give us two different things. So number one, it's going to say your site has successfully been deployed and it's giving you a custom domain, which you can click on to actually now view this site out on the internet. This one's called Astonishing Rabanadas, and you can clearly see the site is all here and functional, but that is not exactly what we want. We want this site to actually resolve to our domain. The next step in the process is to actually click this link that allows you to claim this Astonishing Rabanadas site, and then we can add in the information to have it resolved to our hosting provider, which is GoDaddy. Once I click this link, it's going to associate the ownership of that site with me. It also associates, so it's kind of doing a three-way association between GitHub, Netlify, and Bolt. I believe you can do this without GitHub, but do not quote me because I have yet to do that. So once we do, we can see that we have a site out here called, and it's this Astonishing Rabanadas. I'm going to click on that, and we're going to set up the domain that we actually want this to be associated with. So once we can actually see the site, we're going to go to domain management over here on the left, and I'm going to hit add a domain, and I'm going to add a domain that I already own. So I'm going to start out with www.strategiccorp.com, and then I'll also add the one without the www, but give me a moment here. We'll get this set up first. So this is going to actually do a redirect, but first of all, we have to get the instructions of how to enter the records in DNS for GoDaddy. So let's go ahead and, it did it all ourselves. So we got strategiccorp.com and www. So it did this all on its own, which is great. I am going to go ahead and refresh, because I believe what it's going to tell us is it should tell us if it's not redirecting, which I had already gone through this process once. It is going to give us the instructions on what to do on GoDaddy to actually set this up to route from the Astonishing Rabanadas to GoDaddy's DNS. Since I'm not getting that here, I'm going to try to do that after the fact in the video, but I will pull up what the settings are. So there should be a link here now that says that it is awaiting the DNS, and then I have to go out to GoDaddy then to change my records. And I'm going to share that with you now. All right. I am in GoDaddy in my DNS settings. You can see at the top here is my strategiccorp.com domain. And in order to resolve that new site to my domain, I have to enter a record. Again, Netlify will tell you what that is. And I will have to enter a CNAME record. And then I will have to save this on GoDaddy, and I will have to wait some period of time for that to actually replicate. That does take some time to propagate through the internet. So give that some time once you change that on your provider. Otherwise, there is the option to actually use Netlify, and you can actually purchase your domain here, which I have not yet done, and I would be happy to see a demo on how quickly that works. So once that is complete and everything has propagated through the internet, you will now be able to see our site. So what was and still is Astonishing Rabanadas is now the marketing site at strategiccorp.com. And that really completes our demo for deploying the marketing site. So that will be the conclusion for today. But please join me tomorrow for day 4, where we are going to talk about how you decide what you actually want to build. So as you know, I am building the yield cover crop insurance application for this demo, but that is not going to be the context for everyone. So let me give you a little guidance on how you should decide what you're going to build, and we'll go over that in day 4. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.